This is the audio edition of What's News. I'm J77 and doing audio instead of video for a lot of reasons. One, the original recording that I had on video was not in the best of quality. There was a lot of stuff that was going on that pretty much forced me to actually drop that video and just do it again. Pretty much the same stories. There's nothing changed. It's just I have to do it in this form. And two, the room that I normally do recording is not open due to some constructions. They're actually doing some fixer-uppers down in that room. And being that as my off day, I'm pretty much doing an audio form in a different location that requires me to actually not show footage of the place where I am at. That's pretty much a security reason. That is not that is beyond my control. But nevertheless, I still feel that if you can understand what I'm going at, what story I'm covering, I think it doesn't really matter if it's audio or video. But just to let you heads up and why this is not on the usual video format, that is why. Also, forgive my voice. I'm just getting over a bad cold, which I was battling for the last 2 days. So my voice sounds like something that came off a of a Billy D. Williams movie. So I do apologize for that if it becomes annoying. But nevertheless, I do want to get to the topics at hand. This is, after all, a free-for-all where I randomly pick articles from the newspapers rather than the blogs. These papers have covered stories not just from New York perspective, but other places as well. So these stories, pretty much, even though it is pretty much New York news, it is still global and still has very importance to other places around the United States and the world. One of the stories that I have actually caught wind quickly, it is a very sad story. It was two boys who got strangled by a African python. This was done at a friend's house. And now, with the situation that the possibility that the owner of the house had a snake that was not licensed, criminal charges may be pending. According to the article, and I read it here right now, it says the Canadian authorities are trying to determine yesterday how an enormous snake slid into a living room where two brothers were sleeping and squeezed the life out of them in the dead of night. Noah Batro, I believe, 4, and his brother Connor, 6, were strangled in a pre-dawn house Monday when a 100-pound African rock python escaped from his enclosure, slid through the ventilation system, and fell through the ceiling into the boy's room. The horrifying incident has shocked the small town of Campbellton, New Brunswick, and led to a criminal investigation. Now, again, why this is a criminal investigation is pretty much explained in the article that the snake, you need to have a special license or need to be placed in a zoo that knows how to properly care for these reptiles. But that is one of the main reasons. The night they were killed, the brothers were having a sleepover with their best friend and son, John Clyde Salvia, who owns the Reptile Ocean Pet Shop below the apartment where the brother boys were staying. I thought they were sleeping until I saw the hole in the ceiling. Sylvan told the Canadian Global News. I turned the light on and I saw this horrifying scene. Sylvan had a 14-foot long python for at least 10 years and was the only person who handled the powerful reptile. My body was in shock. I don't know what to think, he said. I can't believe this is real. Sylvia's son was sleeping in the other room and was unharmed. The story also goes on to say that the friends and family members of the adorable little boys were grieving for the animal-loving brothers yesterday. It's like a bad dream. A friend of my boy's mother told the National Post newspaper she loved her babies. They meant everything to her. They were both sweet. The article continues on saying that they were fun-loving, typical little boys. She said their great uncle held back tears As he remembers his nephews, they were two typical children, David Ross said. Um, they enjoyed life to the maximum. Investigators originally, and this is where the criminal situation goes on, because this was it was told at one point and one story, but was also told in another, and this one is going to really push the investigations to get to the bottom of this, how this can happen, and whether or not the people who was in this house had the proper documents um, for this snake. It says here investigators originally believed that the snake had slithered out of the cage in the pet store sometime Sunday night, but it was determined yesterday that it has been inside the apartment all along. Reptile experts from New Brunswick said that pythons may have picked up a scent from the farm where the boys were playing the day before and mistook them for an animal. If a snake scents an animal moving or giving off heat or smell like a goat, um, what is it? It's a goat. Paul Garland told Canadian Baron Sun newspaper. The python lives in a large glass aquarium that reached up to the ceiling. My God. Soviet's apartment, according to the Royal Canadian Mountain Police. Somehow managed to escape through the small hole into the ceiling and that was connected to the ventilation system. The snake made it through the ventilation system and moved towards the living room where the boys were sleeping. The pipe collapsed and the snake fell. The young boys' tragic death are now being treated as a crime. Police said in New Brunswick. Autopsies for both youngsters are being performed. The family spokesman said that the brothers spend Sundays in the house, so his family farm. I'm sorry, with different animals before sleeping over the apartment. The Natural Resources Department of New Brunswick said that no permits were issued, and the pet python of the officials were not aware that it was being kept inside Sylvia's home. The African white python is generally allowed to be kept only in an acquired zoo unless there is a special permit. It is a criminal investigation, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Sergeant have said, and a news conference in Champbellton. We're going to look at all avenues. And that's pretty much the gist of the story, guys. That is pretty much what I pretty much read a 2-page spread here about this story. That's just how deep it is going on in Canada. And it's a very sad situation that has happened there. My sympathies goes out to the families. I cannot imagine someone calling me on the phone and telling me that my two boys have died because of a snake, which was supposed to be kept secure, collapsed under the ceiling and squeezed the life out of them. It's just something that I can only imagine, the anger, the hurt, the grieving that they're going through. There's going to be a lot of questions. This story is going to be pretty much big in Canada for a while, especially in the local area because of the nature of the boy's death. We had this discussion last night about how the family is going to be looking for justice of any kind. There's definitely anger going on, especially after hearing that the family didn't even have a permit for this, which questions the question how they got a hold of the snake. But hearing the stuff that happened in New York with tigers being held in a project building, this is not too surprising. I only got this to say about that situation is that in terms of wild animals or dangerous creatures that people use for pet, make sure you know what the hell you're doing. Make sure you're properly trained, and make sure you have the license for it. And also, this is also just a warning. There are some animals and some pets are not meant to be kept in the house. There's some, like tigers, that a lot of people for some reason feel that tigers, they can raise a tiger in their home and there's going to be no problems. That is not true. They're not meant to be kept as house pets. They're not house pets. They're wild animals, and they're very unpredictable. You may think that you train them the best, but it takes this one incident, and all of a sudden they can turn you just like that. Even professionals who uses lions and tigers and all sorts of reptiles in doing shows and acts. face that situation themselves. They actually got brutally attacked, even though they claim it's because of the environment. If you know it was the environment and it may get them edgy, why would you put them in that situation? That don't make no sense. But there is a danger that comes to that, and this is one of them. I honestly don't know what else to say about this other than I hope the police investigation runs its course. I hope that they have a conclusion as to the situation, and if there was neglect on their part, then yeah, they need to proper criminal charges need to be filed, because you cannot have people who doesn't have a permit, who has a dangerous animal in their home, and not even think about the consequences that will happen if you don't really take care of it. Now, they did say that the person have done this for 10 years. He have had this animal, but it takes just one incident, to pretty much change everything. So I'll leave it for you guys to talk about. I will leave a link below to the article because it is major news, and the blogs has it, so you guys can check it out yourself. But again, to me, no matter what happens, whether criminal investigations or not, it doesn't change the fact that two boys are now gone. So now into one story. Let's go to my friendly Mayor Bloomberg, who had made his pretty much one of his last speeches regarding the union situation in New York, which is not surprising considering that he has been with odds with the union for quite some time, both for good reasons and for bad reasons. But in my case, he has pretty much gave a warning to the new mayor that we can face the same situation as Detroit if we're not careful and not nip this in the bud immediately. As you all know, Detroit had filed for bankruptcy. They have been in bad shape for a very long time, never really recovered from the automobile crash, and as a result of that, there's going to be some very big sweeps going on in Detroit, some that will definitely anger a lot of union workers, especially those who work hard for the pensions. I can only imagine just how that is. And being what Chicago is going through in terms of their cuts, Bloomberg is pretty much sending out a warning that, hey, we need to get our act together, otherwise we're going to be facing a very serious situation, a very dangerous dilemma down the road. Now, is he wrong for what he's saying? Actually, not really. There is some signs that the city is pretty much went a little overboard in terms of some of the stuff they have done. And let's be honest, no matter who's the mayor, whether they're the Democratic or Republican, this situation with the unions, the pensions, the Medicaid, their health insurance, everything I just mentioned here is going to be a major factor within the next 4 years in terms of how that mayor deals with the situation. Some will deal with it with a friendly glove, some will not. But either way, it's unavoidable. The budget has to be fulfilled, and New York, which I will say this, had a share of bad times. 70s, if you was in the 60s and 70s, you guys know what I'm talking about. This city was dead broke. We were bankrupt at one point. It took a long time for us to get to where we are right now. So it can be possible that we can go right back to that dark age. All it takes is just one major crisis in this city, and that's it. So far, luckily, we're still at our peak. Hopefully that will never happen, but it can happen. Another thing about this whole situation, and I'm always for unions for one reason and one reason only. It keeps the balance in check, in my opinion. When you don't have unions, the big bosses sometimes tends to do a lot of shady stuff at the expense of the workers' safety, as well as pretty much muting them for very little, making them work very long hours for very little pay. This is one of the reasons why we have unions to begin with, to make sure our rights isn't violated. There are bad unions. Let's not get it twisted. There are some unions who are just looking for the money, and that's it. But there are all good unions out there who actually, fight not just for the money, but for the conditions of the work areas. Especially when you see in the 1930s how bad the factory jobs were, and how even how young the workers were. I mean, they were as young as much as 10 working in those factories. So keep in mind the unions was made for a reason, and those are the same reason why I always support them. The good ones, not the bad ones. But in any case, yeah, this is something that's going to be a big issue right now and after he leaves office. There is a table that is given here. It's the table from New York, Chicago, and Detroit. And the reason why this table is done is showing you the population as well as the annual budget, as well as the pension costs, as well as the annual health bill costs. And this pretty much says a lot. It says here, it breaks it up into to the time, because Chicago had went through some rough times as well, but it also shows just what he means. So it's not like something he's just throwing out there. He knows what's going on. And keep in mind, Bloomberg is a businessman. He's always he ran this state, this city as a business. So I do give him credit that he knows that when it comes to this, he's not blowing wind. He's giving very accurate numbers you can actually look up yourself and back up. But it says here that the three cities here, the population. New York has 8.2 million people in New York City alone. That's not even in the state. That's 8.2 million people living in New York City, all the 5 boroughs. You have Chicago, who has 2.7 million. I'm a little surprised it's kind of that small, but it is. You have Detroit, and this is a big difference here. Detroit, which was once one of the biggest booming cities, is now down to only 707,000 people living there. That is amazing. That is amazing. That is the smallest population to both New York City and Chicago combined, and that was never once like that. It was never once was like that. Detroit was one of the great cities at the time. The annual budget. New York budget is $70 billion. Chicago's budget is $8.4 billion, and Detroit's budget is $1.25 billion. Now you may ask yourself, well, Detroit, that's not a bad number compared to the two cities. Actually, it is, because you gotta look at the population. Population versus the budget. Yeah, it's bad. It's very, very bad. The annual pension cost. This is very important. This is where Bloomberg is concerned about. The annual pension cost is $8.3 billion. Chicago and Detroit are nowhere close to that. The cost of pension in New York City alone is $8.3 billion. Chicago is $467 million. Detroit is $130 million. And we go to the annual health care cost, which is $6.6 billion for New York, $466 million for Chicago. Detroit has $85 million. So there you have it. That's the numbers that's being thrown out there. That's the numbers that you can actually go back and look it up yourself. And this is something that Bloomberg is warning that we need to be mindful of the cost that we're doing in New York City. Even an article which was done by Sally Goldberg, very good job here, said that New York could face the same financial situation as Detroit unless the next mayor gets realistic with multiple unions and rein in a soaring pension and health care costs. Bloomberg warns yesterday, avoiding the hard choices is how Detroit went bankrupt. There's actually a lot of other stuff that happened too. I'm not going to sit there and say that was the only reason. Corruption really hurt that city. It really did. They're still corrupted right now. There's still people out there who is just doing whatever the hell they want, and no one's keeping them in check. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff. That's part of it, but that's not the only thing that led to it. He left out that corruption part, but he's also saying that. Is how Detroit went bankrupt, the mayor declares in a speech in Brooklyn. With less than 5 months left in his term, Bloomberg held the city deserves revenue base while condoling that the contracts that the next mayor signed with the multiple unions could determine the city's fate and near future. And to his credit, he's right about that part. Whoever he decides here, because and I said this again, no matter who the mayor is, Democrat or Republican, they're gonna have to come face to face. It's gonna get nasty with the unions because the unions are gonna do whatever they can to get what they want. The mayor's gonna do whatever they can to get what they want, and that middle ground, which could take months or even years. Keep that in mind. Sometimes it takes years. Could determine how they negotiate this next contract that's coming up with the city workers. So he's definitely not wrong about that part. I don't see the city in that much disarray. I don't think the city is going to go down the tubes. I think that the city is pretty much stable. But yeah, like I said, if you have guys who don't know how to run this city properly and is doing whatever the hell they want and ignoring the obvious warning signs, then the city can go into disarray very, very quickly, just like it did in the 60s and 70s. So that is something that is definitely could happen, can happen. And you pray that it doesn't happen, because the last thing I need to see is another Bronx burning in my beloved city. But like I said, these are one of the things that has been thrown out there. These are one of the things that a lot of people are curious about, and are in the main agenda in the next election. So these are things that the unions, the statesmen, the mayor candidates are focusing on as well here in the city. Now, let's get on to some other news today. I'm actually going to be doing entertainment news, which is something that I really don't do too much in this part of the channel, but this one simply I just could not ignore, because this is a very, very close call, and this is a very serious news, which I may actually covered in my other channel, but I wanted to talk about it in this channel, and that's Urser's scare. His 5-year-old son nearly drowned in the pool. This also forced his ex of 2 years to seek custody. According to the Daily News, Usher's 5-year-old son nearly drowned in his backyard pool in Atlanta Monday, setting on what could be the ugliest custody battle after the boy's mom apparently blamed the Grammy Award winner for the accident. The R&B singer was not at the home where the terrifying incident occurred, report says. But Usher's ex-wife, the boy's mother, seemed to be holding the entertainer responsible anyway. Tamika Foster, who lost another child by a different father in a jet ski incident, filed legal documents Tuesday, to try to gain custody of little Usher Raymond V, citing a dangerous environment. This was done by TMZ. By the way, when you hear the word TMZ, just do a backup, which they did, just to confirm that this is not just something TMZ is throwing out there. Just keep in mind, you don't always want to take TMZ at their word. But in any case, the drama began Monday when the boy ended up in the bottom of the pool behind the home and in downtown Atlanta, and became stuck in the drain. Police said he was trying to retrieve a toy. It was unclear if the home belonged to the famous father, but the child's aunt, Rena Orton, was there, and according to reports, she is a housekeeper, and the third woman tried to save her. A housekeeper and a third woman tried to save her. Sorry about that. But they failed. That's when two men who were working at the home as contractors came dashing to the rescue. They dive in and free the drowning child and pulled him out. Sorry. One of the contractors gave the boy CPR and was conscious, alert, and breathing. By the time paramedics arrived, cops said CNN identified the hero, sound technician Eugene. Last name is crazy. Stadeski. I hope I'm saying his name right, but these names I'm seeing lately, very, very weird. Before the ambulance showed up, the owner made a frantic phone call saying my nephew was in the pool. Ultimately called and tell 911 operators. I tried to get him. They got him now. Um, they're 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 with CPR. He's coming around. She heard asking he's breathing. He told the operator. Usher, 34, and his ex-wife was by their son's bedside. The doctors was expecting him to make a full recovery. On-site report that Usher's fifth is the older of the two brothers. His parents divorced in 2009 after 2 years of marriage and became embroiled in legal battle over the custody of Usher. Um, Usher was rewarded primary custody last year. Foster 42 is still recovering from last year's death of another son, 11-year-old Kyle Glover, her child with another man. My son is okay, but I have no other comments at this further time, and that's pretty much what it is. And there's a lot of things about this situation that really bothers me a lot. First of all, let me just say I'm glad that the boy's okay. I'm really, really happy he's all right. That is something of a very major scare. I wouldn't wish that on anybody else here. I witnessed somebody near drowning myself, so I know this panic that happens when it comes to that. There's a lot of stuff here. One, to blame Usher, I think it's a little bit cold, and I just think that the fact that she already lost a son, I'm talking about the ex-wife, to another actor, and the fact that she almost lost this son, I think that is where the anger and the blaming and the hurt comes from. I think that in deep down she knows that Usher is not responsible for what has happened. My main beef is the people who was in the house. So if you hear the story, there was 3 women in that house, and my question is, what the hell they were doing? A housekeeper? Okay, you're gonna say she's doing what she's been paid to do, but what was everybody else doing? That's the thing that bothers me, because you have an aunt there who I'm assuming was supposed to be keeping an eye on him. You have another woman here who probably is a friend, and I'm only assuming they was talking to each other and not paying attention to what that boy was doing. And that's something that really bothers me for a lot of people. You know you have a responsibility. Please do it. All it takes is just one distraction, and this situation could happen. I'm just happy that it's not a story that the boy died. Thank God that did not happen. But the point is, this could have been prevented if somebody was keeping the eye on the prize, which means keeping an eye on what this kid was doing. Keep in mind, the house is a death trap if you don't keep an eye on your own child. A television could fall on them. They can do something in the kitchen, pick up something that's very dangerous. You need to keep your eye on them. Too many times I've seen this happen. It happened when I was living in Staten Island that we ended up having to fire a person for their neglect, and that was he literally my goddaughter was playing in the kitchen, where she should be in the living room with the person that's supposed to be watching him, and he was asleep, and she was playing in the kitchen, and he had no clue what was going on. Luckily, the stuff that she was playing was not knives or anything that can be deemed harmful, but the fact is she was in the kitchen. She wasn't supposed to be in the kitchen by herself. And this is the same thing could happen here. When it comes to finding a kid, the kid's curious. They're going to walk around. They're going to look for something to do. They don't want to be bored all day. And the fact that you had 3 people in that room, in that house, and they didn't keep an eye on what that kid was doing, that raised an alarm. If I'm Usher, and I know I'm pretty much sure he did, he's probably not very happy with the company that he had in there right now. And I don't really blame him. But thankfully, the boy's okay. I hope this is a lesson learned. You do not keep your eyes off of a child, especially a child who definitely needs constant supervision. And as far as the custody battle concerned, I don't know if this will jeopardize his legal rights. I do know one thing: the judge will be asking a lot of questions, and it's going to be hit right straight on to the family members who are supposed to keep an eye on them. So that's something that I think that is pretty much unavoidable. As for the mother, look, she's frantic. She almost lost another kid. Her anger, towards him as well as everybody else in the family members is legitimate. You probably feel the same way too when you heard news that your son nearly drowned in the pool, and you heard that all these people was around, and not one of them actually made sure that the son was okay. You're going to have bad feelings for it, regardless. You're not going to have happy feelings. Um, I will leave a link below for this article. You guys can look at it yourself. It is definitely something worth talking about. But right now, I'm going to be moving right along to the next topic at hand. And this topic happens to be the woman who had forced Eliot Spitzer to resign. She have gotten herself into some serious hot water with the feds, and here to say I'm not shedding any tears. According to the reports here, she has been arrested for giving out a huge amount of pills, including a muscle relaxer, which is often used as a date rape drug. She has allegedly sometimes provided these drugs at her house party, according to reports. The Hagrid hooker, her upkept bottle blonde hair tied in a ponytail, kept her mouth shut tight as she bolted from the Manhattan federal courtroom with her attorneys. Lawyer Daniel Hostra said that the client would plead not guilty to 4 counts of distributing and possessing with an intent of distributing a controlled substance. He dismissed the detailed 15-take court filing as he said complaints based on an unsworn statement of an admitted drug dealer seeking leniency. However, this is where things get interesting. The attorney said that person that they're mentioning was actually an undercover cop and was captured in audio and video. Court records showed that investigators also uncovered chatty text messages between the two. This was revealed in the Post, actually Daily News, sorry. Thank you for coming. The informant text on June 9th, 2 days after the attorney said that Davis sold him 215 pills for $675. That is a lot. If you run low, let me know. You're the best, responds a Chipper Davis. Davis, 38, has a long maintained that her client list includes Spencer, who is Washington's Renoveso, whatever the hell that is, with another prostitute forced his resignation. As you all know, this was a very big deal because and this is why I am bringing this up for another reason, which I will pretty much be in a rant in about a few minutes. But Eliot Spitzer was governor of New York City for a few months, and then it was reported that he has engaged into this kind of act where he went to other states to engage in sexual acts with a call girl. There was even suggestions, which he did this. There's no question about it, that he used his taxpayers' money to do this, and traveling all across Washington and Baltimore to do it. He was forced to resign, which kept the charges from actually being revealed to the light, and actually kept him out of jail because the federal government was seeking to get him. But since he resigned, the government decided to drop the whole thing. But make no mistake about it, this actually put a shame on the governor's seat for a very long while, because things didn't get any better after that. And you guys who live in New York know exactly what I'm talking about. But in any case, this was a very, very serious. This has been a very, very interesting situation, turning events. This woman was trying to run for something. I forgot what she was running for. I know she didn't get too very far. People thought it was a joke. But now this situation comes up, and you gotta wonder: did she ever learn from any of this encounter? Did she actually thought this was actually not gonna get in the radar? And two, why would you distribute something that is considered a date rape drug? That's something that always that when I read this report, I read this a couple times. That always something that bothers me when that happened. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. According to the report, that they explained a little bit more detail about past. Davis boasts on her website about running a prostitution ring of 30 customers, including a blood-faced name, a bold-faced name, the world's politics, sports, and entertainment. She served nearly 4 months in Rikers Island in 2008 uh, after her arrest for heading the high-end operation. Also, Roger Stone, who works with Davis, said that the arrest signaled the end of the controller's candidacy for electoral hopes. That's what she was going for. Um, and you know what? She wasn't gonna win anyway. I knew she was running for something, but I seriously doubt she was gonna get it. And this whole idea that anybody was gonna vote for her, not a matter of knowing she had no political experience, was something mind-boggling that she even thinks it. I am stunned and disappointed, he tweeted. I am hopeful that the charges are untrue. I would urge her to end her campaign. Her campaign is over. Don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. If convicted, David can face up to 80 years in prison. She was arrested on Monday at her home in Upper East Side and due back in court on September the 5th. Again, I said this. I can't stress this more. If you're not a doctor and you're offering drugs that you know you're supposed to be under the counter, I'm staying away from you. I'm staying away from you. Just keep it straight. You're up to no good. Why the hell would you do that? That's a drug dealer to me. It's very dangerous one at that. Um, but again, it's also a firm reminder of why I really despise Eliot Spencer, and I have a lot of reasons for despising Eliot Spencer. Let's move away from this article and let's get to this guy because I was meant to talk about this guy for a while. Never got around to it. I believe I mentioned it, I think, one time in one major video. I believe it was my last video when I did the What's News or Entertainment Roundup. Why would be Entertainment Roundup beyond me? But I gotta bring this up here. Um, as you all know, Weiner has been going through a lot. Anthony Weiner is one of the guys who are running for mayor in the city, and it was actually had a respectable lead until it was reported that he is still engaged in sexing young women, pretty much ages 21 and above. This pretty much came to light and didn't make anything better when he tried to pretty much deny it or shrug it off. Even put his wife in the whole mix of it. Only later on to come out and admit that this happened, and I'm sorry. This pretty much pissed off a lot of people. His numbers just pretty much dwindled. He is still in the race, by the way. I think he has no choice but to stay in the race because if he drops out, his career is over. So he's actually fighting the storm. Whether or not he can actually recover from that, that remains to be seen. But it doesn't look like he will. It looks like that Quinn and Thompson are pretty much going to be the two ones going neck and neck for the New York mayor election, and that's fine. I think Quinn is going to win it anyway, but that's just my opinion. We still got a few months to go before anything is set in stone. That's not where I'm here mad about. I was upset that Eliot Spencer, pretty much last week, he was talking all this smack, pretty much putting down Weiner, pretty much shoving more dirt in his face, saying he's a terrible husband. He's unfit to run to be running for mayor. He should resign. He's this. He's that. And it's gotten to the point where even the media, and this is the one time I actually agree with both the media about this, he needed to shut the hell up because no one is. I'm like, at least he didn't use taxpayers' money to do what you did. All right. At least his stuff, as crazy as it is, and I know a lot of people saying he has a sickness and he's this, he's reckless, he's arrogant, and I agree with most of the stuff he says. But you know what? It's still kept contained. What he did stained the governor's office for years. All right. He never paid for his screw up. Which, by the way, I feel he should because he was using taxpayers' dollars, New York taxpayers' dollars, to satisfy his own need. All right, and to me, when somebody does that, when somebody who's accused of something similar to what Weiner has done, They just want to throw dirt on the other person so that way they can throw all the pressure from him because he's running for controlment in this city, all right, and he has a good chance of winning, which I hope he doesn't. And I'm being honest with that. I really hope he doesn't. Even though my family said did a great job, there is a certain arrogance to him that rubs me the wrong way. It rubs me the wrong way. I really don't like this guy. He is so cocky, so arrogant, and the fact that he wants to have the nerve to put down Anthony Weiner when he's on his low, just so he can boost his approval rating, really shows how much of a despicable man he really is. Who the hell are you to criticize that man when you was facing federal charges, was forced to resign, and never really faced charges of what you have done? Imagine if he would have stayed as the governor of New York. You would have realized just how much more stuff that would have probably been thrown out there if he did. Yeah, you can say that they forced him out. There's no question. But keep in mind, if he would have stayed in there, we would have found out just how much money he used under the dime of New Yorkers. We would have found out just how much more shadiness was going on, who else was involved in his office, and he was. That's all that stuff is coming down there. And as I'm trying to stay stable with my words, but just hearing his name really pissed me off. All right? I don't like people who uses other people's woes as a crouch to boost their own career or make themselves look better than what they are. Better than what Weiner did. I'm surprised. I was shocked that even you was still running for some kind of office. So who are you kidding here? Right, look, you want to run for office, fine. Right? You want to sit there and try to make yourself say I'm not the same guy that I was, fine. But don't come over here and try to bash someone when you yourself was caught in a similar situation years ago. That's my big fear with him. So far, he hasn't said much, and I think he's going to quiet down a lot more because what the Daily News have done was pretty much remind a lot of people as to why he was pretty much taken off the governor's, why he was forced to resign from the governor's race. Because this here right there is a friendly reminder, that topic I brought here, because they threw his face right beside the woman who was arrested of illegal possession of prescription drugs. So if you think that people have forgotten, Spencer, they haven't. All right? The only reason why they probably haven't gone hard on you is because Weiner, who is running for an important office in New York, haven't been caught up with his own mess. But make no mistake about it. As the race heats up, your name is going to come up there, and believe me when I say that, you're going to have to answer to it, and whether or not you have changed from what you have done when you was governor, short run governor, but governor of this city. And personally, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think you did. I honestly don't. I'm being real. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. This is pretty much actually a very close net what's news. As usual, I'll leave links below, and you guys can check it out yourself. But until then, guys, this is J77 saying take care, be safe. I will be listening to your comments, and I'll talk to you soon.